Hello everyone and welcome to year 6 of Nectar Clan. This year, a freak snowstorm blew through the territory in Leafbare. I'm sure many of you remember that this clan lives in a swampy environment that's usually quite warm and humid. The snow was a fun change of pace at first, but it has actually proven to be incredibly dangerous for this hot weather clan. Also, you guys will notice that I've included more sketching in this year's video. I'm getting more confident with cats and poses, so I'm showing more of my process. However, there are a couple of poses I struggled with, and you'll see those when we get there. Starting with the oldest cats in the clan, unfortunately, these guys didn't make it to see the snow. It's probably for the best though, as they would have had a very difficult time in the snow with their old age. But anyway, Dayror was lucky this year to have died of old age at 171 wounds. He died peacefully in his sleep in the first moon of the year. Ridge, unfortunately, died of a heart attack. He had wandered off in the night and was found by Carnation Bird the next day, cold and lifeless. He lived a long, happy life, though, and he was very helpful to the clan when they needed him most. I think Weed Joy has the saddest death of the three, though. She had gotten a small cut on her paralyzed back leg and had no idea it was there until it was festering with infection because she couldn't feel it. By the time she could smell her own infected wounds, it was too late for the medicine cats to save her. I'm really disappointed to see her go because I really loved her bright, expressive eyes and her design. I thought she was really cute. You guys will notice throughout this video that there will be flashes of a list on the screen, and that's just my list of cats to draw because last year I forgot 2 cats, and I tried really hard to not forget anybody this year. Unfortunately, there are many more cats who joined StarClan this year, and they didn't have as much luck as Dayror did. All of these cats lived to see the blizzard, and at first it was a blast getting to play in the snow, but then one by one, cats kept getting chilled and coming down with yellow cough or green cough. Then the prey started disappearing in the forest. It was too cold for the animals that were all so acclimated to the heat. Sadly, as the frigid winter continued, cats began dying left and right. First was Zari Speckle, who was quite old. The cold was too much for her frail body, but now at least she gets to see Laureltail again in StarClan. Next was Chive Mist, who I'm very disappointed about. She had been learning how to be a true warrior and was even given an apprentice before her death. Sadly, she never got to see him graduate. Next, Shine Song, who starved to death. She refused to eat until everyone else was fed, and that just never happened. This year, Shine Song actually confessed her feelings to Duskroot and was promptly rejected by the herbalist. However, Shine Song was also on the receiving end of love proclamations. Elk Spots actually confessed her crush to Shine Song twice and was rejected both times. Sadly, a few of our new faces also starved to death, including Rain Nibble, Coyote Paw, and Shard Paw. Neither of the boys lived long enough to receive their warrior names, even though Shard Paw was a bit older when he died. Finally, Beach Prickle, our deputy, also starved to death. She had been running herself ragged trying to care for the clan, but most importantly trying to care for her 4 kits. Her mate Flail was starving too, but the mothers continued to give all their prey to their kits. There just wasn't enough to go around, and poor Shardpaw didn't have the strength to survive. After his passing, Beach Prickle basically gave up. She had been starving for quite some time and just didn't have any more energy to give. She died snuggled up with Flail, desperately trying to stay warm. I'm sure many of you may be wondering, where is Honeystar in all of this? Cats are dying left and right, including the deputy. What's the leader been doing about it? Well, in the beginning of the year, Honeystar was doing a lot of soul searching. She spent moons trying to speak with StarClan, but heard nothing. She had council meetings with the medicine cats and herbalists, but nobody had heard from their ancestors. Honeystar was so lost in thought one afternoon that she stepped on a snake on the edge of camp. Lucky for her, somebody had been watching her, and Cliff leapt in to save their leader from the highly venomous snake bite. He was bitten in the process, and Honeystar sat by his side through his entire recovery. The pair spent every waking hour together, and finally, after 2 moons of recovery, Cliff was feeling back to normal. All thanks to Gumi. Honeystar and Cliff actually decided to become mates just before the blizzard hit. I'm pretty happy about that. Honeystar is also considered adding Gumi as a mate as well. He's kind and incredibly dedicated to her. That's something she hasn't really felt in this sort of capacity. Heavy Moon was dedicated to the clan and agreed to be her mate out of duty. Gumi and Cliff have a different sort of dedication to her. It's more personal, like they would do anything for her, not just the clan. This is evidenced in the blizzard as Gumi does everything he can to protect both of them. Honeystar is starving because she believes she has lives to spare, but Cliff has yellow cough and is very ill. This is not great for the clan because once Beach Prickle died, Cliff was made the new deputy. He promptly came down with yellow cough though, and now nobody is leading the clan through these difficult times. Some cats have turned to Carnation Bird, the eldest medicine cat. Some have turned to Blossom Shade, Honeystar's biological daughter. The clan is leaderless while Honeystar and Cliff are both fighting for their lives. I really hope they survive in the spring. Next are the other 2 medicine cats, Carnation Bird and Sergio. As you can imagine, this has been an insanely stressful year for the Nectar Clan medicine cats. They've seen many deaths, including Ridge, their oldest medicine cat. Carnation Bird was the head medicine cat for a while before Ridge died, but now it just feels all so real. He's the most senior cat of the 3, and this burden has been dragging him down. He's absolutely exhausted and has been snapping at other cats anytime someone asks him a question. Even his kits are struggling to help their father with his frayed nerves. However, not all is lost for Carnation Bird. He may have frostbite now, but Sergio is doing her best to help her old friend appreciate the snow. She's such a lighthearted cat, and her chipper attitude has been very helpful around the overflowing medicine cat den. When Carnation Bird seems to be fumbling, Sergio nips him on the ear and nods for him to follow her outside the den. She listens to his concerns and anxieties patiently, but in typical Sergio fashion, she dismisses his fears with a joke. She once said, "I know the cold isn't great, but you know why the snow is actually a really good thing?" Carnation Bird raised an eyebrow at her. Sergio smirked and wiggled her haunches. "Because you can do this," she yowled, leaping into the air and diving nose first into the thick snow. She sprayed Carnation Bird with powder, but he couldn't help but laugh at her ridiculous trick. When Sergio yanked her head from the snow, she was dusted with white and laughing. I saw a fox do that once, and I always wanted to try it. As the most senior warrior of the clan, and as the herbalist, Flail and Duskroot have opted to fast until the rest of their clanmates are fed. These 2 are desperately hungry, but they have each other to keep warm, and I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. Flail lost her mate this year and one of her kits to this bitter Leafbare, and she's not sure how much more loss she can take. She's already lost 2 of her daughters last year, now a son, and Beach Prickle. The ache in her heart is far more painful than any cat bite or claw wound she's ever sustained. What hurts most of all is watching her eldest daughter Duskroot suffer. Her young kids are being fed the minimum for survival at least, but Duskroot hasn't eaten in days? Flail can't remember the last time she saw Duskroot eat. The poor herbalist is clearly crushed under the weight of her title. She felt like she wasn't doing too bad last year, but now with this icy Leafbare, all of the plants are dying and she can no longer hide the fact that the bees have left them. The only reason nobody knows is because the hive lived over a slow-moving river that's frozen over. None of the cats dare step foot over there for fear of breaking the ice. Duskroot couldn't keep it to herself anymore, and she told Flail her secret. "I don't know what to do, Mom," she cried. "This was my one job, to keep the bees, and I failed." Flail could only lick her daughter's forehead. "We'll find them," she murmured, but it was half-hearted. She wasn't sure much could survive in the frozen forest after this Leafbare. I think this year is Heavy Moon's redemption year. I know he's done a lot wrong, but he's really trying to make things right. Obviously, last year he spent only a few moons training Coyote Paw to the best of his ability, but his apprentice had an untimely end. So, Heavy Moon has set out to do better by his children. When he and Honeystar split up, his kids took their mother's side. That's not surprising. Heavy Moon knew what he did would hurt his entire family, and he did it anyway. He's realized the error of his ways and is diligently attending to his children. Blossomshade prefers not to be involved in her family's affairs, not even with her mother, so Heavy Moon has no luck winning her over. Thicket Chase actually agrees that Heavy Moon was placed in a very unfair situation by becoming the deputy and mates with Honeystar. However, she also thinks Heavy Moon is a selfish prick and has a lot of work to do for redemption in her eyes. Duskroot, who's Heavy Moon's illegitimate daughter, does not care what he says or does because she hardly sees him as a parental figure anyway. And Flashlight doesn't really care what his father does as long as he stays away from him. And that finally leaves Elkspots. Although it took several apologies, it seems like she's coming around to the idea of spending more time with Heavy Moon. He is quite funny when she gets to know him, and Elkspots doesn't mind when Heavy Moon asks to join her on patrols. She knows what it's like to feel rejected, and she hates to think her father would feel like an outcast in his home. Heavy Moon is hoping that Elkspots can get her siblings on board as well. Also, interestingly, Heavy Moon really had justice served this year because he got trapped and neutered. I was kind of hoping Heavy Moon would find somebody to dedicate himself to and have more kits in the future, but looks like the world said there were enough Heavy Moon kits out there. These 3 cats are some of the most competent warriors that Nectar Clan has at the moment. They are still quite young, so their bodies aren't being ravaged by the cold, but they're also old enough to have plenty of experience. This year, Sandy Nettle has been working himself to the bone to distract himself from what happened last year. He doesn't feel the slightest bit guilty for murdering Lilac Drift, but he is still deeply troubled by her comments. Why had she singled out his family? Sandy Nettle isn't sure about the answer, but he thinks Lilac Drift may be following him still. He woke up one morning with a claw wound on his side. He has no idea where it came from, but Yellowfin is incredibly concerned for him. Sandy Nettle kind of just wants to be left alone, and that's what Blossomshade wants too. Because the clan is a dynasty and they have the rules of succession still in place at this point, many of the cats have turned to her for guidance while Honeystar and Cliff are ill. Honeystar actually lost a life this year. I don't know if I mentioned that. The constant questioning and fear from her clanmates has pushed Blossomshade farther and farther away. Now she rarely comes back to camp unless she's dropping off prey she's managed to catch. She still cares for her clan and her family, but she can't stand feeling like she's supposed to be in charge because she's next in line to be leader. No other cats know how she feels, and it's quite ostracizing for her. She doesn't seem to realize that her mother, Honeystar, actually knows exactly how Blossomshade feels, and Honeystar was forced into leadership at only 12 moons old. Finally, Poppy Dart has been keeping himself busy this year too. He's constantly switching between hunting, patrolling, and trying to help his father, Carnation Bird, find herbs for the sick cats. Poppy Dart is quite exhausted, but he's one of the best hunters in the clan. He didn't earn the suffix Dart for nothing. He's been spending a fair bit of time with Blossomshade and Sandy Nettle, mostly because they're all very quiet. Poppy Dart is a bit awkward, so he doesn't talk very much. Blossomshade is brooding and doesn't mince words. And Sandy Nettle looks like his mind is far away, so he rarely has much to say either. They make kind of a weird, quiet, but efficient team. This is a weird pair, if I do say so myself. Let's start with Feathernest, who got a proper picture this year, thank goodness. Last year, she had been bonding a lot with Shinesong, and the two had actually began to develop feelings for one another. Feathernest was really excited to have found love after losing her mother and her brother. She went on a moonlit stroll with Shinesong one night and confessed her feelings to the large tabby. Shinesong was gracious, but very awkward about it, and after that night, Shinesong decided to become an herbalist and practically avoided Feathernest like a plague. Feathernest couldn't figure out what she did wrong. She was heartbroken for the millionth time, it seemed, and as she watched Shinesong flirt with Duskroot, it was just too hard to understand. Feathernest was tired of having her heart broken, though, by loss and grief, so she held her head high and moved on. I didn't expect her to move on to Flashlight, though. Flashlight is also pretty confused by this. Of course, Feathernest is gorgeous, don't get him wrong, but this is all very sudden. He also can't seem to miss the glaring looks Feathernest would shoot at Shinesong when she would flirt with him. Flashlight could tell Feathernest was just trying to make Shinesong jealous, but he couldn't quite understand why she chose him to do that with. Weren't Shinesong and Feathernest lesbians? Flashlight shrugs it off, but he doesn't like the feeling of being a pawn or a rebound for Feathernest. But now he's got to comfort her because Shinesong died, so he feels a little bit stuck. Feathernest never struck me as the manipulative kind of cat, but maybe all of her grief and loss is changing her. Ultimately, I think Shinesong was actually afraid to let herself feel these feelings for Feathernest that she had, and so she pushed Feathernest away. Why she moved on to Duskroot, though, I do not know, and I guess we'll never find out now that she's gone. Best friends as always, these two. This year, Thicket Chase and Pool Pounce have been enjoying the snow much more than the other cats. Thicket is quite adventurous, and Pool is pretty meddling and curious, so they found the white stuff to be incredibly interesting. Despite this, their year hasn't been without difficulties. Pool Pounce was attacked by a dog early on in the year and got some puncture wounds in her back. It was a speedy recovery, though, because this was before the devastation of Leafbare erupted. I'm a little bit worried for her because she hasn't really been mingling much with the clan. She really only hangs out with Thicket Chase, and she seems to be isolating herself, and I'm not sure why she feels like an outcast. She just feels like she doesn't fit in. Thicket Chase finally saw the graduation of her apprentice Boulder Paw after many moons of trying to convince the she-cat that the world isn't that scary. Thicket Chase was happy to be rid of the responsibility. She's not the best teacher and prefers hunting or fighting without having to explain what she's doing. I think that's fine and understandable. Other than that, Thicket Chase is much more outgoing this year and has made a couple more friends. She gets along really well with Garlic Flower and Spider Paw. The three girls often spend time grooming one another or gossiping. Thicket Chase isn't much of a gossip herself, but Garlic Flower and Spider are both immature and have a keen eye for drama in the clan. It's never anything terrible or mean-spirited, though. Thankfully, they haven't noticed Thicket Chase's secret. She actually has a crush on her mother's new mate, Cliff. I don't know how to feel about that, so I'm just gonna see where it goes in the future. Mars is absolutely devastated this year. She lost her best friend in the clan, Chive Mist. She's also seriously regretting joining the clan at this point. She could have been in a warm kitty pet home in front of a fire, but instead she's freezing her tail off in a bitter cold swamp. She's absolutely miserable, and it's pretty obvious she wants to leave. To try and help brighten her spirits, Honeystar has given Mars an apprentice, Stempaw. The two got along pretty well. Mars is pretty childish and could make training into fun games for Stempaw. She also felt quite honored to have been given one of the deputy's kits as an apprentice. It felt like high praise. Ultimately, though, she's pretty devastated and not sure if she's willing to stay in the clan for much longer. Garlic Flower is an interesting character. If you guys remember, she was adopted into this clan with her brother Tiger Kit when they were quite young. Sadly, her brother passed away, and Garlic was left alone to fend for herself in a clan full of cats she didn't know. She's been grieving the loss of her brother for quite a while, and seems to have finally accepted his fate, but now she's just apathetic. Last year, the clan thought she was just grieving, but it's been a long time, and Garlic Flower almost seems indifferent to the state of the clan. She and a lot of the other cats are starving, and she acts like she doesn't even care. If she ever drags herself from her nest to go hunting, she never returns with anything. Does she eat it while out patrolling, or is she indifferent that she doesn't bother to catch anything? Nobody in the clan has seemed to take notice but her two friends Thicket Chase and Spiderpaw. The two girls are constantly grooming Garlic Flower for her and bringing their friend a piece of prey every now and then. Yellowfin can't seem to figure out if Sandy Nettle is avoiding her or everyone altogether. She had spent a fair bit of time last year trying to comfort him after losing his sister, but he doesn't seem to be getting much better, and he seems like he's hiding something. He's still pulling away from her, and she can't figure out why. At first she thought maybe it was Mars. The tabby she-cat has obvious feelings for Sandy Nettle, but after the winter hit, Mars is hardly seen with her clanmates at all, and doesn't even glance at Sandy anymore. Yellowfin isn't sure what to do to help him. She's desperate for him to feel better and has attached herself to him in a bit of an unhealthy way. She's capable of giving him space when he obviously needs it, but she has a very difficult time letting him out of her sight. She can feel herself clinging to him desperately, like she did to Beach Prickle when they first met in the kitty pet home all those moons ago. Now with Beach Prickle gone, Yellowfin feels like she has to cling even tighter to Sandy Nettle, lest he slip through her paws too. She can tell that this isn't right and it's unhealthy, but she can't seem to stop herself. As many of you have noticed, we have a lot of cats in this clan, so I haven't been accepting any new members. Nectar Clan already can't feed the mouths they have. They don't need any more. But this cat joined in a time skip without my permission, so they get to stay, I suppose. Ganderpaw was from another clan supposedly, and begged to join Nectar Clan. As far as Nectar Clan knows, there are no other clans around them, but Ganderpaw begs to differ. It seems they come from a clan deeper in the forest, a more wild clan. Ganderpaw much prefers the rules and structure of Nectar Clan though, and they've settled into their life quite quickly. It seems they've even fallen for a young orange Tom, Duckpaw. These two have been slowly but steadily falling in love with one another. When Duckpaw earned his warrior name, Duckweed, Ganderpaw was the one to cheer the loudest. And when Ganderpaw became Ganderthorn, Duckweed was there to give them the loudest purrs. At the beginning of the year, Duckweed was out on a patrol with his mentor when he was seriously injured by passing rogues. They tore his right ear, and he started to lose his hearing, much like Heavy Moon. Ganderthorn was there to comfort him every step of the way. I hope these two become mates because we only have one pair of mates in this clan now, and we need some more love and less drama. Also, Ganderthorn is non-binary, so their pronouns are they, them. Boulderpaw finally faced her fears and went out into the world to learn how to be a warrior. It was incredibly difficult for her, and she had many panic attacks as she tried desperately to train with Thicket Chase. Her mentor wasn't very sympathetic to Boulderpaw's lack of adventure, as Thicket Chase would put it. However, eventually, Boulder Paw had done enough to earn her name, Boulder Heart, at the age of 20 moons. Just in time for her to start helping as Leafbare began to set in. It was quite scary hunting as a warrior on her own at first. She was a pretty terrible hunter and would miss catches constantly because she was so anxious. Then, the worst possible thing happened. Boulder Heart was attacked by a coyote. She only barely managed to escape the starving creature, and she ran back to camp with every ounce of strength she had left. The clan bravely fought off the trailing coyote, but the damage was done. Boulder Heart was injured, and although she's healed now, her mind is fractured, and she refuses to leave the safety of the camp. The bramble walls keep her safe from predators, but she's still terrified, and even the slightest sounds can make her jump. This year, Coral Paw earned his warrior name Coral Venom after he managed to kill a snake with a single bite. The clan murmured that it was almost like coral was venomous. That's, of course, ridiculous, but Coral Venom doesn't mind the rumor being spread about him if it makes him look tougher than he actually is. He's actually a big softie and was only protecting his girl from the snake. Spider Paw, who's now called Spider Lily for her grace and beauty, isn't Coral Venom's mate, but they really like each other a lot. And I mean a lot. The two are always off on little dates with one another, and they even sleep in the same nest now that they're warriors. Spider Lily has been a pretty important fixture in Coral Venom's life since his brother Coyote Paw passed away in the Leafbare blizzard. Coyote Paw was the only family Coral had, and now he's gone. Spider Lily knows that she can't replace Coyote Paw, but she knows she can be a comfort for Coral in this difficult time. And Pale Petal is here because he wants to comfort Coral Venom. He has a big fat crush on him and on Flashlight. Pale Petal just seems to be a hopeless romantic, and he's constantly chasing after cats he really shouldn't or can't have. He is the biggest third wheel when Coral Venom and Spider Lily are on dates or want to be alone. He's literally always there, and he can't seem to take a hint. In fact, even when it's glaringly obvious that he's not welcome, he can't seem to just go away. I hope he finds someone else to crush on other than his old mentor and a Tom that's clearly already taken. The poor guy obviously just wants to be loved, but he keeps choosing the wrong cats. Dovepaw and Skypaw both got their warrior names at 12 moons old this year, and Honeystar was a little cheeky when naming the girls Skyfall and Dovecall. Since the sisters are practically each other's security blankets, it seemed right for them to rhyme. Sergio is very proud of all of her daughters, including Spider Lily, and is pleased to see them helping out the clan every way that they can. Skyfall has turned out to be a more fidgety and nervous she-cat. If something goes wrong, she is quick to run off. Flight is much stronger than fight for Skyfall. She doesn't mind hunting and fighting though, as long as she doesn't have to be alone. Dovecall, on the other hand, is not really the warrior type. She's not prissy or anything, but she just really doesn't like to get dirty or wet. The winter has been tough on her because she's constantly getting ice stuck between her paw pads and tangling her coat. She's warm with all that floof at least, but she does not appreciate the snow making her damp. I definitely see Dovecall as a more permanent queen in the future. She's a very peaceful presence and is very patient with the younger cats. Maybe when the clan has recovered from this harsh winter, Dovecall can ask Honeystar if she can be a den mother. Honeystar has high hopes for Dovecall though, so I'm not sure if that request would be accepted or harshly denied. Only time will tell. Finally, we have the remaining 3 kits of Beach Prickle and Flail's litter. Adopted litter, that is. These guys barely survived the winter unscathed and have actually grown into quite small cats because of the malnutrition, unfortunately. From left to right, we have the loyal and clever Shadow Dance. He's quite agile, and watching him fight, he almost looks like he dances with his opponent. In the middle, we have the only sister, Stickbug. She turned out to be responsible and an eloquent speaker. Growing up surrounded by brothers, Stickbug has grown into a tomboy. She loves to get dirty when hunting to disguise her scent and plays very rough with her brothers. Finally, we have the compassionate and kind-hearted Stemstream. He's a go-with-the-flow kind of guy, hence the name Stream, and doesn't really let anything ruffle his feathers. Although they all missed their brother Shardpaw, Stemstream was the first to recover. He's just less bothered by difficult things and can let go of the past very easily. He really can't hold a grudge or anything like that. The other 2 are dealing with their loss, and they all really miss their mom, Beach Prickle. She was the one that saved them. They all can see Flail, their other mother, is struggling in the winter, and they hope that she can recover as the weather warms up. They're starting to get to know their other sisters a little bit better, Duskroot and Yellowfin, but Yellowfin isn't very patient with them, and Duskroot is starving to death, so she's not very fun. But these guys are turning out to be pretty good warriors. And that's all for Nectar Clan. I can't believe it. So many cats died this year. It's pretty disappointing, but hopefully we can have some stable numbers now that there aren't so many cats. But if you enjoyed this video, maybe leave a like, subscribe, and if you join me for my next one, I'll see you then.